Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Still Roses podcast. This podcast is created for women by women. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Two things. Number one, I'm feeling better. If you listened to the podcast last week, I sounded like a dying frog a little bit. I'm down to a hacking cough and a little raspiness in my voice, which I don't really mind for podcasting. I'm going to be honest. I don't really mind it for podcasting. Excuse me, I am going to cough a lot though. So on that note of me being sick, or getting through it anyway, that's still happening, but I appreciate all of you kind of just hanging in there with me whilst I work through that, because I will only ever not post an episode if my mental health needs a break, or if I lose my voice, like literally, which happened 2 times. Like about a year ago, twice in 1 year, 2 or 3 times in 1 year, I lost my vocals, which was a very humbling experience. And I talk about it in some of my episodes. Nevertheless, I'm making my way through it. I had an incredibly busy weekend, getting birthday parties and doing birthday parties taking my kids to parties for their friends, and just, trying to do the regular mom wife thing and cleaning and all that jazz. Some of you have heard me talk about how I did have a cleaning service starting to come in and to help take the load off me a little bit. I had canceled my subscription and I haven't reconnected with any of the ladies who would come here to clean. So it's on my agenda item. So it's just been busy, but overall positive. Now, I don't know, for those of you who are listening every episode, you might hear the difference if you have been listening, closely, or picking up on the little nuances in my voice. I went through, there was like a period of time, it was like right before the July 4th break, and then like almost immediately after, there was about a stretch of about a week. I want to say it was like 7 to 10 days where I did not get to meditate. Now you would think this is not that big of a deal. Like, Jenny, I don't meditate, I'm fine. And bear with me. Absolutely. I'm not saying it's like end all be all, but for everybody, actually, I have to take that back. This is an end all be all. And let me tell you why. Because when I wasn't meditating, I started to feel the shift of my alignment going off. And it started to present itself in interesting ways. Case in point, there was a situation at work that, you all know I have a day job. There was a situation at my job that I didn't love. And meditated Jenny and aligned Jenny would have seen this shift at work for what it was and would have pivoted accordingly. Unaligned Jenny was angry and upset and hurt and just pissed off. And my energy was horrid, like horrid. The following morning, I made sure that I got up and meditated, because I already knew, I'm like, we're not going down this path. Like, that's not my vibe. That is not my vibe. That is not my Jenny vibe anymore. So I got back on my meditation schedule, and it's a little bit rushed and it's a little bit stressful. I do need to get up a little earlier to really fit it in. And for some reason, I'm having trouble with this. But it made a big impact on my aura, my persona, like everything about me. It really made an impact. So if you haven't tried it yet, I highly encourage you to try it. My guru, I call her my guru, Cathy Heller. If you look up her website, she has a guided meditation. Like, I think it's a monthly subscription, like $12 or something like that. I cannot express enough to you all how much it'll change your life. I just simply can't. I'll give you another example. And this one's like a physical example, I suppose. I had a scenario where I needed to, you guys are going to like, this will blow you away, because it kind of blew me away a little bit. I had a scenario where I had a situation where I needed to come up with $15,000 by June. Now, this is a big sum of money for me. Some of you listening might not think this is like that large of a sum of money, but for a family of 5, coming up with just that much money is pretty significant. It's a middle class family of 5. Like this, you know, you don't have loads of money to toss around. I knew this deadline was coming, and I knew that this thing had to this amount. It was specifically like I could not. There was no budging. And in my meditation, I just kept the amount in my head as like, this is it, you know. And the meditation specifically that I use is I'm open and willing to receive abundance and opportunity from the universe. I used to say I will receive, or I phrased it a little bit differently. And then I noticed that the way that I was phrasing it was almost forceful. Like I was trying to control it, and you cannot control your alignment. Like you have to just be in alignment, and then things come to you. It's interesting, the nuances. And that's why I've talked about this in some of my other episodes where I do, I had been meditating for like a year or something. And then I found out I was doing it not quite right. And I had to kind of rejigger it. If you are interested in meditating, one of the books, Cathy has like great guided meditation. So if you go to her website, cathyheller.com, I think it is, she has wonderful guided meditations. If you don't want to go through those and you're into books, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, like game changer. I just recommended it to my cousin. I bought it for all the teachers that, you know, the kids had last year, like game changer, hands down. So anyway, the whole point was that I needed this specific amount, and it wasn't just the 15, like there was other stuff needed too. So it was probably closer to 25, but the 15 was a solid number. And I had no idea where this was coming from. And I can pinpoint back to the pivotal moments that at the time just felt random, and I didn't really pick up on it. But these few moments, starting from, when did it start? I think it was earlier this year. I think it was in January, it might have been in January if I'm remembering correctly, but I had these pivotal moments that kind of guided me in a specific way, and that money appeared, and it came into my universe, and it said, here you go. And I told my cousin, the former guest, the former host, the co-host that I had, I said to her, I was like, this is what just went down. I had no idea where I was going to go with this. And it just appeared. And she was like, how are you sleeping at night knowing that you didn't know where that was coming from? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just felt very much that through the meditation and through being in alignment, I really truly believed that was going to be me accepting the abundance and the universe providing. And that's exactly what happened. There's stories like this all over the place. If you're looking, there's miracles in front of you all the time. So I do encourage you to, even if it's just 5 minutes, like guys, like I know what it is to have kids. I know what it is to be tied to your job. I know what it is to be super swamped and just completely overwhelmed. This is something to make time for. I can't express it enough. This is the thing that 5 minutes before you take a shower, literally 5 minutes before you take a shower, do a meditation on focusing on being in alignment for opportunity and abundance. Take 5 minutes and think about what it is for me personally, when I think about being in alignment, I envision a weightlessness, and I envision the feeling of floating, which I actually do it in the pool quite often. And then I try to meditate in the pool just for like a couple seconds, just to get the feeling. And I'll float. And that's what I envision when I'm not in the pool, is this power that's guiding me on my way. And I do that for 10 minutes. And then I do affirmations for 10 minutes. And then I do visualization for 10 minutes. That is it. That's the setup. Hal Elrod's book, The Miracle Morning, they have a app that you can get, like a paid version, but you don't need to. They have free version that you could use, and it has great features. I just can't tell you enough. And I want everybody to tap into this, because there is enough abundance for everybody. Like, this is not like, I don't have to keep it a secret. there is enough for everybody. Go for it. Like, you have to do this. It will change your life. It's going to change your life. There's not, I cannot tell you that enough times. So on that note, which I'm going to be honest, I was not even going to talk about that all today. I really wasn't. And I sort of just, like, it popped into my head and I went with it. So I have a couple thought starters that I just wanted to share with you. Kind of think through as you're going through your day, just things to think about. Quote that I saw on Pinterest is my jam, by the way, guys. So you'll hear me refer to it when I talk about thought starters. So I found a thought starter on Pinterest. The quote is, "You deserve to celebrate not only who you've become, but who you could have become and fought not to." And I want you to think about that for a minute. We have a tendency to celebrate the success right in front of us, but not reflect on the fact that it could have gone totally different. Your life could have gone on a totally different path. Maybe somewhere along the way in your life, you decided to make a change, make a shift, and you got yourself into a better position. That's wonderful. But take time to be grateful for that moment in time that you made that call to say, I'm not doing this anymore. I am going to make a better life for myself or for my family or for my kids or whatever. And you have to celebrate the fact that you did that, because you could have gone a whole different way. I've talked to some of the prior guests from season 1. I stay in contact with a lot of folks, and some of the, we all go through struggles. Like, we talk about that all the time. I talk about this all the time on the podcast. We all have struggles. As shiny as social media is, behind the scenes is very real. That's where the grit is. And I know some of these ladies that have great grit. They have encountered failures and they fell flat on their face and they dust themselves off and they get back up. And it's truly amazing to me. And I send them props every once in a while. If you're ever inspired to send somebody accolades, or if you're ever inspired just to say, hey, I just want you to know I see you and I think you're doing a great job, go for it, because you're going to make their day. Anytime somebody compliments me on something like that, somebody told me recently that they trust my opinion and they'd really like to talk to me about advancing their career. I was so humbled by this, because this person doesn't know me that well, but she trusts me and my judgment to be able to tell her, like, honest, legitimate, like, let's talk this through. Tell me what you're thinking. It's truly humbling for someone to come to you like that. It's the biggest compliment of my life. So I did want to point that out. That was one of my thought starters. Another thought starter that I'm trying to decide between, I think my website here just made the decision for me. So I do talk a lot about, advocating for yourself, making space for yourself, showing up for yourself, taking time for yourself. Even if, I'm with my, especially during the summer, I'm like hands off. I'm with my kids all the time, and it's taking its toll here and there. I love them so much, but it's taking a toll. So I reflect back on this quote here and there. I think it's interesting because you can look at it not so much from a religious standpoint, because I'm not traditionally religious, but if you look at it from the standpoint of women being the only vessels that can carry life and a soul from this other world that we don't understand, this other place that we don't understand, wherever our souls are coming from that we don't really know, we are the only beings that can carry that. We are the only ones that can bring that energy, bring that person into existence. It is an honor. And so this quote that I found sort of breaks down like the breakdown basically of women staying home and, women being mothers, and a lot of things have gotten lost, I think, in the value that we bring to our families. So the quote is, it's a little long, bear with me. It's from Elizabeth Elliot. The book is Let Me Be a Woman. And it says, the routines of housework and of mothering may be seen as a kind of death, and it is appropriate that they should be, for they offer the chance day after day to lay down one's life for others. Then they are no longer routines. By being done with love and offered up to God with praise, they are thereby hallowed, as the vessels of the tabernacle were hallowed, not because they were different from other vessels in quality or function, but because they were offered to God. A mother's part in sustaining the life of her children and making it pleasant and comfortable is no triviality. It calls for self-sacrifice and humility, but it is the root, as was the humiliation of Jesus, to glory. Now, I know that the tones here are religious, but if you really think about this quote here, the mother is the heart and soul. We're the caretakers here for our children. Yes, sure, yes. Your husband helps, whatever. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about your husband doesn't wash the dishes, we're pissed off. That's not this conversation. This conversation is that you are here and you've had this child brought into your life, whether it was a surprise or whether it was planned. This child was brought to your life for a reason. You are ever connected to this child, and you are meant to teach these children something. There is something in you that you need to teach these kids, and we have to take that with care, handle it with care. Every single thing that we do from the moment they're born is shaping their personalities. It's shaping them as a person. Every single thing. And really think about it, because you think back on your childhood or think about the trauma that you have, or if you're seeing a therapist, which I mean, I love it. Love it. Everyone do it. And then everyone works through their own trauma and everything. It's like, well, my mom didn't do this or my dad didn't do this, and it really traumatized me. We all have that. That's all there. I'm sure I'm traumatizing my kids with various things. I get that. But trying very hard to maintain some sense of this is huge what you're doing. This is a huge blessing. And it's a massive honor to be able to shape these lives that are going to be the future generations to come. So I just wanted to point that out today, because I think that, in the world today, there's a lot of jokes and there's a lot of undertones and there's a lot that breaks down being a mother, and it takes away from it. And it says oh, go have girls' night every week, or go do this or go do that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because I've been told by people that, oh, you need a break for your mental health. You got to get out. You got to go out. You got to go do something for yourself. And I'm like, well, really, do I? Because I spent 31 years before my kids were born doing what I wanted to do for me. As soon as my son was born, for me, that was done. I lived as much of my life as I needed to live. When my children were born, my entire attention turned to them to make sure that they were getting everything they needed, that I was showing up for them. It's the most important thing. Let's see what they say in 10 to 15 years about my efforts and my husband's efforts, because we try so hard. So I'll leave you on that note and thinking that through. I hope you all have a great day. I appreciate all of you hanging in there with me and listening. Leave me a review when you have time. I greatly appreciate that. On any of the platforms that you listen on, please leave a review. And I will catch you on the next one. Thank you all for listening.